and good afternoon. This is Sam Vaughan for Sam Sports Report. Today's date is March 3rd, 2025. We will start with college basketball. Mizzou loses a close one again on the road. They led until the 115 with 6-point lead. But Vanderbilt kept getting closer and eventually hit a three where Mizzou should have fouled by Mark Mitchell in the paint. Trent Pierce looked away. I don't know where he looked for the crowd. I don't know what he was looking at, but he looked away. And Mark Mitchell or Caleb Grill had to foul him. Or Taylor Nickel took the shot and hit the three. And all the momentum went to Vanderbilt. Chris Morin scored 23. AJ Horgard had 21. Vanderbilt had all the momentum going into overtime, as we said. And they won. They had the advantage. 97-93. Caleb Grill tripped in with 28 to be the leading scorer, but lost on the Missouri side. Mizzou remains the 5 seed, but A&M holds a tiebreaker, so Missouri must win, which was hit by another 3-point shot in Columbia to win that one. This time it was on the road, and Missouri still has continued to have problems on the road. Final was 97-93. Mizzou needs to play better defense on the road. Hopefully they can figure that out before the SEC tournament. Mizzou's ranking is 16th in the AP poll released by today. And they have still not updated the bracketology. Anyways, Mizzou will play Oklahoma. Tip is at 7 on Wednesday. Then they play Kentucky. Mizzou needs to get both of those to have a shot of a number 3 seed. They probably need to get a run in the tournament as well. Kansas goes down to Texas Tech. Kansas was down 2, but in the last 5 minutes, Texas Tech took over. KU did not score. 78-73. JT Toplin had 21, and KJ Adams also scored 21. But he was in the loss. Tonight, the Kansas Jayhawks would play a number 1 Houston, who has already won the Big 12. Houston has won back-to-back Big 12 championships and is the only team since around the 1920s since joining a conference to win back-to-back conference championships. Houston is now number 3. Kansas is unranked. Game is at 8 o'clock from Houston. And Houston is favored by 9.5. Or a big number for KU not to be favored in. Kansas State score from yesterday. They finally got one to win as they won 65-56. Kansas State moves to 14-15 on the season and 8-10. Colorado 11-18, 2-16 in the Big 12 as they are having a rough season to say the least. According to the DSM-5, schizoaffective disorder is if they have periods of unattended mental illness such as having symptoms of depression or another mood disorder, and a longer episode of mania, the major depressive disorder, while also having symptoms of schizophrenia. So think of schizophrenia where you have more depression more often. Schizoaffective is where you have mixed mood symptoms. And here's me and Jake and Sam Vaughan, Sports Mental Health. That with all more. This is Sam Vaughan with Sam Sports Report. And Sam's Mental Health Day. I know you've talked about it in group, and if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to, but your thoughts on ADD and if you've ever had any real struggle with it.
With what? I'm
ADD
sorry.
or ADHD at all?
So before I was medicated, I think I did struggle with that a lot. I've been told that I might have ADHD. I don't know if the person that told me that it was just a normal person. It wasn't a doctor or anything. I've been told that at high school too, that I might have ADHD. But I don't I don't know enough about it to say if I have it or not, and I don't think I do, but I'm not sure.
If let me just say, if you did, because I do, the doctor may or may not say take a prescription, because if you have schizoaffective disorder, I think I've told you this many times. If you have schizoaffective disorder, much like an energy drink, it is a stimulant. So it will get your heart beating faster. And there's ones that are less stimulants, and there's one that are more stimulants. However, at least for my case, and I was on medication throughout school on the Ritalin, whatever you want to say. I was on that. It just bumped up my anxiety. Now, probably at that time I didn't have schizoaffective, but it just bumped up my anxiety too much to where I just.
This morning, doctors are issuing a new warning to patients who are prescribed stimulant drugs like Adderall and Vyvanse. This comes from a new study published in the American Journal of Psychiatry. It found that taking high doses of these drugs, which contain amphetamine, could put people at a much higher risk of developing psychosis or mania.
In fact, one estimate shows that nearly a third of patients are prescribed dosages that may increase their risk of developing these psychotic symptoms.
NBC News medical fellow Dr. Akshay Syal joins us now to explain what this study found. Dr. Syal, good to have you with us. So walk us through which drugs were tested in this study and just how much of a risk doctors found they could pose to patients.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, so the link here between psychosis and mania and amphetamine stimulants isn't new. That's something that we've known for a while. But guys, what is new, just as of a few hours ago, is that we're sort of getting some information about what doses are required to sort of increase your risk here of developing those symptoms like psychosis or mania. And you can see here what we found is that, if you take more than these doses on the screen, so more than 40 milligrams of Adderall, more than 100 milligrams of Vyvanse, or 30 milligrams there of dexedrine, you have a 5.3 greater likelihood of developing psychosis, and that's what the authors considered here a high dose. There's also an increased level of risk for those taking a medium dose, which is sort of 20 to 40 milligrams of Adderall, about 50 to 100 of Vyvanse. So if you are somebody who's taking those doses, you just want to be a little bit more cautious, especially if you have a family history of somebody in the family who's developed psychosis or mania. You really want to be careful about how much Adderall or how much Vyvanse you're taking there, guys.
What is it about amphetamines that increases the risk for these severe mental health disorders? And is there anybody in particular who's more at risk?
So we're still learning that, Savannah, but our sort of best guess here is that it's, the neurotransmitter dopamine is what's involved. And so for those who don't know, dopamine is, it's the chemical we often associate with our reward center or pleasure center. It's involved in mood and attention and movement. But guys, in psychosis, we actually think dopamine is implicated because it's found in high levels. And so these amphetamine drugs can actually increase the level of dopamine in the brain. And if you get too much of it, that's what we sort of think is driving the association here, Savannah, but we're still really figuring out the exact reason why.
So we had a separate recent study that found stimulant use in U.S. adults skyrocketing in the last few years, up 30% for people between 20 to 39 years old. At the same time, doctors say developing psychosis or a similar disorder is quite rare. So just how much should this study concern folks?
Yeah, it's a good point, Joe. And so the overall risk is rare. It's about less than 1 in 1,000. But for those who are taking these drugs, and we're all in that age group. I'm sure we all here know people who are taking that, especially with, the COVID pandemic and telehealth and people sort of getting easier access. But guys, I think what people should really know is that if you do have a family history, if you do have, people in the family who've developed schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or psychosis, you really, really want to be careful about taking those higher medium doses. Because guys, I think a lot of people don't sort of get a lot of benefit if you start taking more and more stimulants. It's not really clear if it's doing much benefit for you, but it is increasing your risk. So it's really all about finding that balance and making sure you get the benefit from the drugs without avoiding some of that risk, guys.
For someone who's prescribed this, they're hearing this right now, they're thinking, oh, is my dosage too high? What could this mean? What should you do if you take one of these and you're concerned about your dosage?
Yeah, so it's I would say make sure you actually have a diagnosis or a reason for taking this. I think a lot of us know people who've gotten a hold of these drugs through non-prescription means, and so making sure you actually have an indication or a reason to be on it. And then Savannah, I would just get I would tell people to get in with their doctor and making sure that that dose is sort of at that balance we just talked about, where it's making sure that you're getting the benefit with minimizing the risks and the side effects, and it's going to require some tinkering, playing with the doses a little bit, maybe trying Adderall, maybe trying Vyvanse, sort of figuring out which one's best for you. But as long as you're not taking that high dose for too long, you should be okay, guys. Again, the risk is very rare here.
All right, Dr. Akshay Sayal, good to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.